Okay, so I've got this logo, and so what I'm going to try and do is show you how to make this and break this into little bits. So we're going to be using layers, and we're going to be using some of the pathfinder tools here, and I'll show you how to do that. So first we're going to create a new document, make it A4 and landscape. So go create, and then we're going to type out our words. So it's going to be our first word, and change it to a font that you like. I'm going to use one from Adobe, and this will be my kind of base font that I'm going to hang everything off. I'm going to duplicate that, so just press Option and change this to 2021. And so now I've got my sort of base kind of letters made. I'm going to change the colors of both of them because it's going to make it just a little bit easier to do this if we change them in colors. You don't have to, but I'm going to do that. Okay, so I've got this color. I'm going to make that yellow. So I'm going to hang these off here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take these. I'm going to right click and I'm going to turn these into outlines, and then I'm going to ungroup it, and that will turn them into individual shapes. I'm going to do the same thing with the numbers, and then ungroup, and then we're good. We got these all as individuals, and so now we're going to position them. So I'm just going to move this one up, and the smart guides are helping me for a bit. Just zoom in a little bit, which you can use the magnifier tool, and just get this positioned so it looks like it's hanging off. You need a tiny little bit of space here, and that will make it easier to kind of do this. So something like that is perfect, where you can just see a tiny little bit of space there, and that's going to make things a bit useful and easier later on. So I'm going to do one letter, and then I'll go through the rest relatively quickly. So what we're going to do is grab both of these, and you can see we got the pathfinder tool here, and then here we've got some more options for different types, because it puts the ones that I've used the most up here. But what we want to use this one called divide, and what it will do is it will just divide up all of these, and so you can see that it's split this up into bits, and what it's done is it's grouped it again, so ungroup it, and now we've got these as individual little layers, which is kind of what we want. And what we want to do now is we want to say, well, how is this working in terms of the kind of overlaying? It's pretty easy to make it look like this is kind of linking through, because all we need to do is change the color of this shape. So I'm going to grab the eyedropper tool, which is up here there, but I pulled it off into its own panel and grab it like that. So already we've got it hanging off and it looks okay. So we can do that with all of them, and we'll work our way through that. But I'm going to also show you how to do shadows, because it would be nice to make this look kind of a little bit more interesting, so that this has got a shadow underneath and this has got a shadow here, so it looks as if it's really part of it. So that kind of creates a couple of problems, because it's going to get a bit complicated, and we're using different kind of shapes, and we're going to duplicate the shapes. It's going to get a little bit difficult. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this shape and this shape, the ones that are kind of, this one's going to make a shadow here, and what we want is a copy of this, and what we also want is a copy of this. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to press Control C or Command C on a Mac, and I'm going to create a new layer. And so my layers are up here, and this one is going to be called upper, and then I'm going to go edit and paste in place, and what it's done is it's created an exact copy up here of what's down below. What's down below is still there, it's just created an exact copy in exactly the same place, and then I'm going to lock that. Okay, so this layer here, what I'm actually grabbing is not this one there, I'm grabbing the one below, and I'm going to use the white arrow key to take this and edit this shape, and you can see that it's kind of making a shape that's bigger, which is sort of what we want. But what we want to do, And you see it's making these big holes. We turn on the big one, the holes have gone because we've got a shape on top. And I'm going to take this shape and I'm going to change the color of it. And I want to make it red. But actually I want to make it a dark red, because the dark red will make it look as if it's a shadow. So I'm changing the shadow of it. And then you can play around with these to kind of get them to look the way that you want them to. So there's the first shadow. So we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to take this, I'm going to copy it, so Control C, go to my upper layer, I'm going to unlock it because I didn't want to change any of that, and then I'm going to go to Edit and Paste in Place. So now what I've got is I've got those two layers on that top layer here, and I'm going to just lock that so I don't affect them. And now this layer here is, I can move this around and I can change the color of this. But what we don't want to make it red, we want to make it yellow, but kind of a dark yellow. So I'm going to do something like that. And because we moved the whole thing, we've kind of got this little errant bit that's gone off, and we're just going to stick it over there so we don't see it. So now we've created the shadow of the two, and we zoom out. You can see that we've got the two hanging off the sea. Okay, so it's quite a lot to do there, but I'm going to do the same again with the 0. So I'm going to move the 0 up here. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. And I'm just going to angle it a little bit because it looks a little bit better and it's just a bit jauntier. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to select both objects. I'm going to go to the extra pathfinder options and go to divide. And now it's going to divide everything up. I'm going to right click on it, this object, and ungroup. So now we've got all of this. This one I'm going to change to the color of the background. So use the eyedropper. And now it looks like the O is over. He's kind of looping through there like a chain. And now I'm going to create the shadows. So I'll do one at a time. I'm going to take this one. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to unlock my upper layer. I'm going to go Edit and Paste in Place. Now it's added that layer there. I'm going to lock it. And I can take this one and I can start editing it because I've actually grabbed the lower layer one. I'm going to take this, move this around. It looks like I'm making it bigger, which I kind of am. And now I'm going to grab that dark red. So I'm going to use the eyedropper and grab it. So now I've created the shadow of there, and now I'm going to create the shadow underneath this bit. So I'm going to do exactly as I did before. I'm going to copy it, so Control C. I'm going to go to my upper layer. I'm going to press Edit, Paste in Place. So now that's in place up there. I'm going to grab it with the white tool, the white eyedropper tool, and move this around. And what I want to do is I want to grab this yellow here. So I'm going to press this, and now I've got the shadow underneath. And depending on how you want to do it, you can make these shadows as big or as little as you like. And just to remember that this is underneath the layer that's on upper, so you can play around with it and make it look as if it's really kind of sticking out. So that's the 0 done, and now I'm going to do the 2. So same thing, I'm going to move this up. I'm going to rotate this a little bit just to make it look a little bit more interesting. I'm going to grab both layers, go to the pathfinder, divide, so it splits it all up. Grab this, ungroup. So now I want to make this one red. So I'm going to grab the eyedropper, turn it red. So now it looks like the 2 is hooking through. So now what I want to do is create the shadow. So I'll do the first one here. So I'm going to copy this, Control C, go to my upper layer, Edit, Paste in Place, lock it again, and now I'm editing this layer here. So I'm going to grab it and change it a little bit to create the shadow, and this shadow needs to be this color. So that's the first one done, and then the second one is this. So I'm going to take that shape, I'm going to copy it, put it into the upper layer, paste in place, lock that layer and go back to the bottom one, and now I can do my shadow. And I'm going to leave it like that for the moment, and eyedropper, and there we go, we created the shadow. These little bits here, you can see I've got these, just kind of curve them out so you don't see them. Okay, this is good. If you get little bits like this, which are slightly annoying, then what you can do is you can just move them so that you kind of cover up any errors. That sometimes happens with the Pathfinder tool. And then you've got to do the same here, just really zoom in, and then it's repaired. Okay. And finally, I'm going to do the last, this one. I'm just going to put that really simply like that. And I'm going to do a tiny bit of an angle. We're going to grab both, divide, take this shape, ungroup it. This one we're going to turn into a red shape. And then what we want to do is we want to create the shadow. So the shadow on this one is going to be this shape, but it's also going to be, it's going to be more this shape. So we're going to use this one. So we're going to copy this onto the upper layer, edit, paste in place, and then we're going to edit the lower one with the white, something like that. Use the eyedropper tool and grab the dark red. And that's how you create some letters hanging off some other letters.